everybody. I hope you're doing well. I know I've been gone for a little while. I was a little busy. Uh, on the 2nd of this month, my family and I hosted Easter here at our home. Well, actually, I should say in our driveway and backyard. Um, and we were so grateful because after lockdowns, pandemic stuff, it had been a long time since the majority of my family was able to get together. I come from a huge Greek family, and although not everybody could be there, a lot of us were together, and we had a wonderful time. And I have always appreciated spending family time, spending the holidays together, but after the past year, I have a completely and totally different appreciation for it, right? There's a little bit of extra gratitude for things that sometimes we took for granted before. And that really ties into what I want to talk about today, because today I want to talk about gratitude and growing the gratitude muscle. um, Gratitude is something that we really need to practice. It's not something that we're inherently born with. I mean, if you think of um, a baby comes into this world and just kind of cries to get its needs met, right? It doesn't know to appreciate things. It's something that we have to teach them, right? We need to teach kids to say thank you um, all the time and remind them of that. Um, you know, when I was younger, my brother and I were taught by our parents uh, to be grateful for a lot of things, especially because we grew up in a very different environment than they did. They grew up extraordinarily poor in Greece, in village life, completely different than we did here in America, in the United States. Um, so they really instilled in us the idea that, all of these things that we were lucky to have, whether it be food in our refrigerator, a roof over our heads, heat and hot water, from the littlest things to the big things, that we should appreciate them. That a lot of these things are not necessarily owed to us, even by whether it be our parents, of course, shelter and food and stuff, but the extras, birthday gifts, birthday parties, other celebrations, um, even having family members or friends invite us over their house for dinner. They would remind us that it is that person's graciousness and kindness to open up their home, to open up their table to us. So um, I would love to say that I always appreciated everything and I never took things for granted, but let's be honest. Of course, there's a lot of things that we take for granted, but we need to definitely show these things to children. The thing about gratitude is that um, aside from helping us to recognize certain things, it has a very definitive effect on other people as well. So when we take a moment to show gratitude to somebody who has done something for us or goes out of their way for us or shares some kindness with us, it really has a huge effect on the other person as well. I want you to think about how it can sometimes even make people more productive, right? If your employer comes up to you and compliments you and tells you, I really appreciate the effort that you've put into this project that you're working on, or how devoted you are to our company or to our work, or how you're always willing to accept any kind of challenge that I throw to you or give to you, right? As an employee, right, when we hear that, it really has a profound effect on us. It's gonna make us feel a little bit, well, definitely going to make us feel appreciated, but it even might motivate us to go that step further, or to work harder. And even when we show appreciation to other people, It might make them feel like, oh, you know what? When somebody appreciates what I'm doing, I want to do more. I want to show more. I want to give more. Um, and that just makes everybody's heart swell, doesn't it? Right? You feel more acknowledged, you feel loved and appreciated. It's a huge deal. But gratitude can also be a tool that can be used to combat negative feelings like anxiety, fear, and depression, especially during some of the most challenging times in our lives. That simple shift of our thoughts, right, from um, whatever it is that we've been fixating on or been surrounded by, whatever negative thought that's been like pushing us down or weighing us down, that simple shift to something that is good or something that is right in our life instead, um, can have a huge outcome, because positive thoughts are truly powerful. And what I found really interesting in doing a little bit of research on gratitude, which really confirmed kind of what I was thinking, is that gratitude is known as a natural antidepressant. And while this antidepressant has no negative side effects, right? You know, we hear all those, oh, this medication can do this. Gratitude has no negative side effects. And what it does is, when we're involved in gratitude, when we're practicing gratitude, it helps to release the dopamine and serotonin, which are two critical neurotransmitters that we have in our brain that make us feel happy. And if we start doing this on a regular basis, if we start training ourselves to be more grateful, to practice gratitude, we actually help to strengthen the neural pathways that will just in turn start to create a more positive nature in us. It actually helps to release toxic emotions like stress and anxiety from our body, and even physical pain. So just imagine like how powerful a tool this is and how important it is for us to teach this to kids. And this is not a new theory or a new idea. I mean, we can even go back as far as the Bible, right? Where um, throughout the Bible, it tells us how important it is for a person to renew their mind and to think on good things, because whatever we put our attention, when we put our attention to good thoughts, our emotions follow. It's kind of like they go hand in hand. So the question is, okay, so how do we teach children about gratitude? How do we teach them to be more grateful? Because we definitely want them to reap the benefits. So I'm going to share a couple of ideas that you can use with children. And of course, the simplest one, and it's one that the majority of parents already do, I'm sure you've done this 1,000 times, and teachers, and is to remind kids to say thank you all the time, right? It's that consistent thing where whether somebody is handing them something or giving them something, that constant reminder of saying thank you, because it's a habit. And habits occur, like habits become part of our norm over time, over practice, and it's something that they definitely need to be reminded of. The next thing I would say is to teach them to also show gratitude to others by doing nice things. And it doesn't have to be huge things. You could show gratitude to somebody by giving them a hug, or doing something as simple as making them, bringing them a glass of water, or helping them set the table, or just complimenting them on how special and how wonderful they are. The third thing I want to say is that it's important for us to point out things to children to be grateful for. There's so many things that we take for granted and that children take for granted that they never even think of. So, and it can be something as, I'm thankful that today I am able to walk, that I'm able to breathe, that there is water coming out of my faucet, that there is food in my refrigerator in case I'm hungry, that I have lungs that can breathe. Little things like that that we often take for granted and that they take for granted, that we have family or friends who love us, from the smallest to the biggest things. So one of the things I want to tell you is, in order to grow that gratitude muscle, right, and to practice it on a regular basis, it's good to put something in place, um, to help us to do this, right? Because we all like, yeah, 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 that's great. We agree that it's good to be grateful. It's good to teach kids gratitude. But unless we try in some way to incorporate that into our daily lives, we might forget or not do it as often as we could or should. So I would suggest that you try to find some sort of gratitude activity that your family can practice on a pretty regular basis. And it doesn't have to be anything really elaborate, right? It could be something very simple. It could be, my first suggestion would be, at the end of the day or when you're sitting at the dinner table with your family, to just go around and have everybody share three things that they are grateful for that happened that day or for that day. Um, and it's really important that the adults participate in this activity, because children learn by modeling, right? It's one thing to tell them, it's a totally different thing to show them. We could tell them something, and I'm not saying that it won't get through, but when we model for them, when we are the example for them, it's different. So going around and asking them to share three things, and be patient, right? Because, sometimes we might just say, oh, I don't know, I can't think of anything, I had a really lousy day, right? But it's trying to teach kids to find that silver lining, right? That something that went right that day. And sometimes they may need a little bit of time. Don't rush them. You might want to remind them of one or two things, but please don't give it to them. You will be surprised what kids will come up with if left on their own. So it shouldn't be like, well, today you had fun doing this with your friend. Why don't you, include that? Let them try, give them the time, let them try to find it for themselves. And it doesn't have to be done at that moment. Maybe they can think of one or two things at that moment, and then maybe towards the end of dinner, they'll think of the third thing. Okay. And the more we practice it, the more things we find, the easier it is for us to recognize things to be grateful for. So that's probably the easiest one. Three things every night at the dinner table. My second, just to make it a little bit more fun, and I had included actually this game idea in one of my former blogs, and it's called the I Spy Gratitude Game, and which is really easy, right? Because basically what we do is we ask whoever's playing to spy something that they are grateful to have in their life. It could be in their home. You could play this in a car ride. You can play this while you're taking a walk around your neighborhood. It could be something like, I'm grateful for the people who serve my community. I'm grateful for that little bird that's chirping and it sounds so sweet. I'm grateful that I can breathe air and walk or run, or that I have this car. I'm grateful for that song playing on the radio because it really makes me happy. Or I'm grateful that I have a really funny friend or mom or brother or sister. Um, and one way to like really get kids involved a lot of times is make it a little bit of a competition. And I'm not saying a competition like, oh, you are the reigning, I mean, you could kind of joke, you are the reigning champion of the I Spy Gratitude Game. But when we make it a little bit of a competition, kids get a little bit more into it, right? Especially if there's siblings involved. It's like, yeah, I want to one up you. And it trains them to start looking for more and more things to be grateful for. Um, Another idea, if you don't want to play the game or do the thing at dinner, or maybe you want to do all of these, is some people like to keep a gratitude jar. So someplace centrally located in their home, they kind of have like an empty jar. Maybe you want to use a box instead, a decorative box. You could use whatever you like. And when people think of things that they are really grateful for, they just kind of write it on a little scrap of paper and throw it into the gratitude jar. And that gratitude jar can serve as a tool on those days when you're not really having the greatest time, when maybe you're not feeling all that happy or grateful. You know, we've all had those days. Um, and you can just kind of go through them and look through them to remind you of the blessings that you do have in your life. And then lastly, I would say that if you have an older kids, or maybe you want to do this, you know, for yourself, some people like to keep a gratitude journal. You could use it on a daily basis, you could use it on a weekly basis, or even, you know, I mean, whatever works for you, whatever works for your schedule. We could just jot down a list of a couple of things. Maybe this is what I'm grateful for this week, or, you know, and let that list grow. And a lot of times when we look back, we see the blessings in our lives instead of focusing on the challenges and the hard stuff. Whatever you do, whatever method you use, and maybe you have something that'll work for your family much better than these suggestions that I've given to you. Just know that by consistently practicing gratitude, it will strengthen us and better prepare us to handle the times that are going to be a little bit more challenging. And that's especially true for children. Um, and then when we are having a good time, when things are going smoothly, when we have those beautiful moments where things seem to be pretty okay, and we have a deeper appreciation as well. And that's a really wonderful gift to give to our children and to ourselves. Well, that's all I want to talk about today. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful for all of you who have become part of my Light Giver community. And if you have any practices that work for your family or for yourself that you would like to share, please just drop them in the comments so that we can share them, because really the whole idea behind this Light Giver community, my whole goal is really for us to come together and help one another, help each other. That's really what we're all here for. And that's what I want this Light Giver community to be. If you're interested in finding a children's story which addresses the topic of gratitude, I do have a story in my book, The Light Giver and Other Stories to Raise Emotionally Healthy Children. And it's called Tommy's Bike, which actually happens to be one of my favorite stories. And I think you'll love it. And I also have some activities in the Light Giver Stories workbook. Sorry, I'm really bad at this. Both of these books are available for sale on Amazon and where books are sold. You can also go to my website, www.thelightgiverstories.com. You can get 2 free sample stories. For those of you who hadn't had the opportunity, 2 free sample stories from this book and 2 lessons or discussions from this book, the Light Giver Stories workbook, which are all to help children to learn some coping strategies and to also help build their character. Because really my heart is all about children, which is why a percentage of the proceeds from the sale of both books go to help 2 children's hospitals, including St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. If you have read if you have read my books, you bought my books, you read them, and you haven't had a chance, please go to Amazon, give me a review. I would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in watching any more of my vlogs or to watch any story readings or sample lessons that I've done in the past on video, I have a YouTube page called The Light Giver Stories. You could go there, subscribe, and you'll have access to them all the time. They're also, again, on my website, www.thelightgiverstories.com. Um, and as always, everybody, remember, we're all light givers. All of us have gifts and talents and love and kindness to share. And that's what it is to be part of that light giver. So by spreading our light, by sharing our light with other people, we make the world more beautiful. And by being a part of the light givers community, you definitely make my life more beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoy these vlogs with you. I hope you do too. Please share them. Share them with your friends. Share them with parents, with homeschoolers, people who have children that they love, maybe nieces, nephews, godchildren. Um, and again, if you have any other ideas about sharing gratitude, put them in the comments. Also, if there's anything, any topic that you would like me to address, whether it's a topic addressed in my book or something that maybe your child is struggling with, or that you would like some advice about, please write in the comments. Or if you want to private message me, you want it to be anonymous, my email is Peggy, P-E-G-G-Y, at thelightgiverstories.com. So you could message me privately if there's something that you want me to address, a topic, and I would love to be able to help and offer some advice to as many people as possible. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everybody. I love you. Bye.